Welcome to Inside Insights, your quick hit of tips, tools, and trends for manufacturing, distribution, and Dynamics 365 Business Central, brought to you by InsightWorks.
Imagine for a second that you are driving a 3-ton forklift backwards down this incredibly narrow aisle.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You're surrounded by these towering steel racks. They're stacked like 30 feet high with really heavy pallets.
Just a totally high-stress physical environment.
Exactly. You are just trying to navigate this massive machine safely. But at the same exact time, your boss expects you to read a dense 50-row financial spreadsheet on a screen the size of a playing card.
It's ridiculous.
Just to know where to go next. Like, that sounds like an absolute nightmare, right? But, I mean, that is the literal reality for millions of warehouse workers today.
Yeah, it really is.
We spend so much time talking about how brilliant enterprise software is, but we rarely talk about what happens when that software completely ignores the physical reality of the human beings who are actually forced to use it.
Because the friction there is just visceral. You know, you're taking this hyper-physical environment and you're imposing a really rigid office-style digital interface right on top of it. I mean, it is the textbook definition of a structural mismatch.
It really is. So, welcome to today's deep dive. We are exploring this really fascinating intersection of technology and blue-collar labor today.
Yeah, really critical topic.
And our mission for this deep dive is to look at what actually happens when a digital screen violently clashes with the real physical world of warehouse logistics and, how we can fix it.
Right.
To do this, we're pulling from a pretty compelling stack of sources today. We've got technical documentation and some recent press releases detailing an app called Warehouse Insight,
which is a huge player in this space.
Yeah, it's a warehouse management solution designed specifically for Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central, and it's developed by a company called InsightWorks.
Right, and then just looking through these architectural documents, the core tension driving their entire design philosophies, it's hardware diversity versus software rigidity. It's all about the fallout of forcing these highly varied physical jobs into a single software box.
Okay, let's unpack this, because before we can even really appreciate the software solution InsightWorks came up with, we have to vividly understand the chaos of the environment we're talking about here.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, you read the words warehouse floor on paper, and it sounds like one unified thing, but it really isn't.
Not at all. I mean, to understand the friction, you have to picture the kinetic energy of a modern logistics center. It is not one job. It is like a dozen simultaneous micro-environments.
Yeah.
So down at the loading dock, you have receiving clerks handling incoming cartons.
Right.
They're usually standing up, moving really quickly, and they're scanning barcodes with these compact, handheld Android devices. They just need to move fast and verify what is physically right in front of them.
But then, 10 yards away, you have a completely different scenario playing out.
Vastly different. You have those forklift operators we just mentioned. I mean, they are steering heavy machinery. They're wearing thick safety gloves.
Right. The gloves change everything.
Exactly. And they're dealing with the vibration and the glare of a bouncing cab. They're usually glancing at these vehicle-mounted tablets.
Yeah.
And then somewhere else, deep in an aisle, you have a picker moving on foot. They might be wearing a ring scanner on their index finger, right? Picking instructions from a tiny display physically strapped to their wrist, almost like a watch.
So we are talking about wildly different physical postures, vastly different hardware screen sizes, completely different workflows.
Yeah, it's a huge mix.
Yet, traditionally, enterprise software, especially the systems built to interface with these heavy-duty platforms like Business Central, it gives every single one of those workers the exact same screen layout.
Which is wild.
I am trying to wrap my head around why software companies ever thought this was a good idea in the first place. I mean, it's like taking a software interface built for an office accountant and just blindly slapping it onto an Apple Watch.
Well, what's fascinating here is that the root of that problem goes back to the actual nature of ERPs, enterprise resource planning systems.
Right, the big monoliths.
Exactly. For anyone who has ever dealt with an ERP, you know they are notoriously rigid. They act as the central nervous system for a massive corporation's data. So historically, stability is prized way over usability.
Just keep the data safe, basically.
Right. In the past, if a company wanted to change a single user interface screen in an ERP, they were looking at deploying a whole team of extensive custom developers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was super costly. And every time the core system updated, those custom screens would just break.
Ugh, a total nightmare.
So the IT department simply surrendered. They built one standardized view to ensure the database worked, and they basically made the human workers deal with the consequences out on the floor.
And the cascading cost of that compromise is just staggering, right? Like, if you put a dense multi-column list on a forklift tablet, it just crowds the screen.
Absolutely.
That operator is handling exactly one pallet at a time. They do not need to squint through 50 lines of extraneous data to find the single bin location they're aiming for.
Right, and let's follow that to its logical conclusion. When a worker is constantly zooming, scrolling, or like squinting just to find one piece of relevant data on a totally inappropriate screen, their physical momentum stops.
Everything grinds to a halt.
Scanning slows down.
Uh-huh.
But the real danger isn't even just lost time. It is the cost of the inevitable errors. Think about the anatomy of a single missed pick caused by a bad interface.
Okay, walk me through it.
A worker misreads a tiny, cramped item number on their screen. So they grab a left-handed thread bolt instead of a right-handed one.
Oh, man.
That bolt gets packed up, loaded onto a truck, and shipped to an automotive plant 2 states away.
Right.
When that plant tries to install it, the whole assembly line halts. So the cost of that bad user interface isn't just the 50-cent bolt. It is thousands of dollars in delays, shipping fees, and furious clients.
Which brings us directly to the core challenge in these sources. You have all this diverse hardware already out on the warehouse floor. You can't just throw away million-dollar investments in vehicle tablets and wearable scanners.
No, the hardware is fixed. It's already bought.
Right, so the solution has to be in the software. And InStateWorks approached this by basically abandoning the one-size-fits-all trap entirely.
Which is a huge shift.
Yeah, they introduced 3 distinct, highly configurable mobile views within the Warehouse Insight app.
And the first one detailed in the documentation is called Rich Tile View. And it specifically targets that receiving clerk or the floor picker using a handheld device.
Yeah, so instead of a generic list of text, Rich Tile View transforms each document line into a visual tile.
Right.
It pulls the actual item picture directly from the Business Central database and puts it front and center on the mobile screen.
It's super visual.
Along with the picture, it displays the critical text, right? Like the description, the bin location, the lot or serial number, and the quantity.
The psychology behind shifting from a text-based interface to a visual-first interface is actually profound. Text requires a really high cognitive load.
How so?
Well, a worker has to read a string of alphanumeric characters, hold that string in their short-term memory, look up at the physical shelf, read the label on the physical box, and then verify the match.
Right, it's a lot of steps.
It is a slow, error-prone translation process happening in the brain, but human beings process images exponentially faster than text.
So when a worker looks at their handheld and they see a high-resolution photograph of the specific spark plug or bearing they are supposed to pick, and then looks up at the shelf, it is just an instant pattern match.
Precisely. It drastically reduces those costly mispicks we talked about. But the really crucial mechanism here is that it reduces the error before the scan even happens.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, traditional warehouse systems are reactive. They wait for the worker to make a mistake, scan the wrong barcode, and then the device beeps angrily to say, hey, you messed up.
Right, after the fact.
But Rich Tile View is proactive. The visual interface guides them to the correct item naturally, which prevents the mistake from occurring in the first place.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. The documentation highlights this feature where supervisors can set up Perot color rules.
Yeah, the color coding.
Now, on the surface, that sounds like a standard feature, making a tile turn red or yellow. But I want to push back on this a bit. Does making a row turn bright red actually change the workflow, or is it just like a cosmetic bell and whistle?
No, it fundamentally changes how triage happens on the floor. Imagine a busy shipping dock, right?
Okay.
You have 50 orders that need to go out right now. Without color coding, a worker is reading dates and priority codes on a screen, trying to mentally calculate what to grab first.
Lots of reading.
Exactly. With these color rules, a supervisor configures the system so that any order tied to an expedited shipping method automatically renders as a bright red tile on the handheld.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and any order missing a serial number turns yellow. You are entirely removing that mental calculation from the worker's plate.
They just react.
Right. They glance at the device, and the most urgent physical task is literally screaming for their attention visually.
Yeah.
It is all about removing friction from the decision-making process.
Okay, so Rich Tile View handles the visual pattern matching for people carrying handhelds. But let's go back to that forklift operator we talked about earlier.
Yeah, a totally different situation.
Their hands are full, they're wearing heavy gloves, and they are navigating a bouncing 3-ton machine. They do not need photos of items, right? They need large, unmissable instructions.
And that specific requirement gives rise to the second interface InsightWorks built, which is the directed card view.
Right.
This view basically strips away everything. It removes the broader context of the massive 50-line order and presents a single task at a time experience.
It's essentially like putting blinders on a racehorse. The screen displays one full detail panel for the exact step the worker is on right now.
Nothing else.
Right, just the bin, the item number, the quantity, and the unit of measure. That is it. Nothing else competes for their visual attention.
And if we tie this back to the physical reality of the cab, that is a massive safety and efficiency feature.
Yeah, safety is huge there.
When you are operating a forklift with, say, a Honeywell Thor tablet mounted to the roll cage, the absolute last thing you need is a distraction. You cannot be looking at line 47 of an order when you are currently executing line 3.
No, definitely not.
You need absolute, unambiguous direction. Directed card view perfectly matches the chronological, step-by-step nature of driving machinery from one physical location to another.
The sources mention that directed card view also uses something called fact boxes. How do those fit into this minimalist single-task screen without just cluttering it back up?
Fact boxes act as secondary verification points. They just slide in alongside the main panel only when necessary.
Oh, okay.
So let's say a worker is directed to pick a pallet of fragile electronics. The main panel tells them where to go and what to scan. But the fact box can surface specific handling instructions pulled from the source document.
Like a handle with care or something?
Exactly, or stack heavy items on the bottom. The worker gets the essential context without having to navigate away, open a new menu, or take off their heavy gloves to tap a tiny button.
They just stay in the flow.
Right. They just use these large next and previous buttons to cycle through the work linearly.
It sounds ideal for those wearable ring scanners too, right? Where the screen on your wrist is barely an inch wide.
Oh, absolutely.
You can only really fit one task at a time on there anyway.
Yeah, it enables a completely hands-free, guided workflow. The software is telling the human exactly what to do, just one granular step at a time.
So we have covered the forklift driver who needs tunnel vision, and we've got the receiver who needs visual confirmation. But what about the veterans?
Yes.
The workers who have memorized the layout of the warehouse, who know the absolute fastest route from aisle A to aisle G, and they just want to optimize their own path without the software holding their hand step by step.
The veterans represent a really unique challenge because their efficiency actually relies on seeing the whole picture. For them, InsightWorks developed the third interface, the compact grid view.
Okay, so how is that different?
It is essentially the polar opposite of the directed card view. Instead of one task at a time, it is a high-density list designed for smaller scanner screens that shows every single document line simultaneously.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, it packs in columns for the bin, item number, open quantity, unit of measure, and it features this footer panel that expands to show deeper details when you select a row.
No, wait a minute. If I'm a warehouse manager, the last thing I want is a rogue veteran rearranging their screen and just going completely off script.
You'd think so, yeah.
Giving them a dense list where they can change columns and sort things however they want, that sounds like a recipe for absolute chaos. Why would the software actually encourage that?
Well, you'd think it causes chaos. But forcing a 10-year veteran into a rigid step-by-step workflow is actually what breaks the system. Think about how expertise works on the floor. A veteran picker looks at a list of 40 items and instantly realizes, hey, if I grab items 1, 12, and 30 first, I can clear out this entire back aisle in one sweep rather than walking back and forth 3 separate times.
Ah, I see. So compact grid view empowers that spatial awareness.
Exactly. It's about trusting the worker's physical knowledge of the space over the software's sequential list. The documentation emphasizes this as a major empowerment feature.
That makes sense.
Workers using compact grid view can sort by any column directly on their device. If they want to group all the picks by bin location to minimize walking, they just tap the header.
Oh, that's smart.
More importantly, they can add or remove data columns themselves. They do not need to submit a ticket to the IT department just to customize their workspace.
It respects their autonomy.
Yeah, it treats them like the professionals they actually are. You are giving an experienced worker a digital tool that they can physically mold to match their highly efficient habits.
Okay, this all sounds great for the worker on the floor, but I have to put my IT manager hat on now.
Let's do it.
We talked earlier about how modifying ERP systems is historically a total nightmare. If I am running a massive facility with a mixed fleet-like tablets on the forklifts running directed card view, handhelds in receiving running rich tile view, and veterans on the floor customizing their compact grid views, am I not just creating an unmaintainable house of cards?
It sounds like it, right?
Yeah. Do I need a massive team of external developers constantly coding and updating 3 different interfaces just to keep the scanners talking to Business Central?
That is the exact fear most IT directors have when you say the words custom UI. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, this is where the architectural elegance of the solution really reveals itself.
Okay, I'm listening.
To understand how they bypass that nightmare, you have to look at where the configuration actually lives. Every single setting we just talked about. The color rules for the tiles, the data populating the fact boxes, the column layouts for the grid, all of it is managed entirely inside Business Central.
Meaning the core ERP system itself.
Yes, exactly. The configuration is native to the ERP. There is no separate, tile designer software you have to go buy.
Oh, really?
There's no external middleware app you have to constantly update. A supervisor literally just logs into the standard Business Central environment, navigates to the device configuration page, and assigns profiles.
Just right in the normal menus.
Yeah. They tell the system, all devices in the forklift fleet profile get directed card view. All devices in the handheld fleet get rich tile view.
But wait, how does the physical scanner actually know what to display without having a custom app hard-coded into it?
Think of the scanner app less like a rigid, hard-coded program and more like a web browser or like a blank canvas.
Okay.
When a worker turns on their handheld and logs in, the device sends a ping back to Business Central. It basically says, I am scanner number 4, I belong to the forklift profile, what should I look like today?
And Business Central just tells it.
Right. Business Central instantly reads the configuration and paints the screen with the directed card view. We call this runtime logic. The device reads its display instructions at the exact moment it runs.
So if a warehouse manager decides they want to add a brand new custom field, let's say a hazardous materials warning, they just add that field in Business Central, and the next time the scanner pings the system, the warning just magically appears on the screen.
I mean, there is no magic, just incredibly solid architecture. Because the device dynamically renders whatever Business Central tells it to, you completely eliminate that technical debt.
That's wild.
You do not need a developer to write a custom script to push that new field to the scanner. It pulls through natively. You are getting the holy grail of enterprise software.
Purpose-built, highly specific interfaces for your diverse hardware.
Managed from a single, centralized location with zero coding required out on the warehouse floor.
That structural philosophy really echoes a quote in one of the press releases we reviewed for this. Brian Neufeld, the director of marketing at InsightWorks, he stated, "Customers tell us where the friction is, and we go solve it."
Yeah, it's a highly pragmatic approach.
It is. And honestly, it takes a company with significant scale to build an architecture that talks to an ERP that smoothly. The documents define InsightWorks as a leading ISV.
Right, an independent software vendor, meaning they don't just sell Microsoft core product, they build really robust, integrated layers on top of it.
Right, and they are exclusively dedicated to Business Central apps. They have an engineering footprint backing this up, with over 750 global Microsoft partners, headquarters in Canada, and a regional office in the Netherlands.
Because they have global reach.
Yeah, they're not some small startup hacking together a quick UI fix. They have engineered a foundational bridge between the physical realities of the warehouse and the digital rigidity of the ERP.
And the takeaway from their architecture is really clear. You do not have to choose between a standardized, secure IT environment and a highly optimized, human-centric worker experience.
You can have both.
You can actually have both, but only if the software is designed from the ground up to bend the physical reality of the work.
Which brings us to the ultimate question for you listening right now. Why should a deep dive into warehouse scanner interfaces matter to you, even if you never set foot on a logistics floor?
It's a fair question.
Because this fundamentally redefines how we should evaluate the software we use every single day. Good enterprise software is not just about storing data securely or moving numbers from column A to column B.
Not at all.
It is about respecting the physical and psychological reality of the human being interacting with it. For decades, we have just accepted this broken dynamic where we force humans to conform to the limitations of the software.
Right, we make people squint, scroll, and adapt to bad design.
But when we flip that dynamic, when digital tools are actually designed to conform to the physical job, when the interface bends to fit the human efficiency, does not just incrementally improve, it skyrockets.
It's a night and day difference.
Cognitive load drops, safety increases, the error rate plummets, and the work just flows naturally. So what does this all mean? We just need to stop accepting the one-size-fits-all compromise in our digital tools.
This raises an incredibly provocative question, though.
Oh, what's that?
Well, we have just explored how InsightWorks has perfectly mapped visual interfaces to physical screens, right? Handhelds, tablets, wearables.
Yeah.
But the warehouse industry is not stopping at screens. Logistics centers are rapidly experimenting with screenless technologies now.
Oh, wow. Like what?
We are seeing early deployments of augmented reality glasses that project inventory data directly into a worker's eye, blending the digital and physical worlds entirely.
That's crazy.
And we are seeing the rise of pure voice-picking headsets, where the worker only listens to an AI and speaks their confirmations back. So as the physical interface evolves completely away from a glowing rectangle you hold in your hand, how will massive ERPs like Business Central adapt?
That's a huge shift.
What happens to the software architecture when the interface becomes entirely invisible, relying solely on human speech and an unencumbered field of vision?
Now that is something to chew on. When the screen literally disappears, how does the software continue to guide the physical work without causing absolute chaos?
It's the next big frontier.
Well, we will leave you to ponder the future of the invisible interface on your own. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating collision of physical labor and digital design. Keep questioning the tools you use, demand software that works the way your brain and body actually function, and we will catch you on the next one.